This is a video on why I shut down my 10-gallon tank. So, first of all, it killed almost all my fish. The only fish I have left is my small baby shell dweller that's left. And the next reason is because even if I try to clean it up, there's no way I could really use it as a display tank. You see, since the background is glued in, that would all some of the bits would stick there, and there's probably gonna be lots of scratches in order to remove the stuff. But it doesn't mean I'm not gonna use it at all. I'm gonna use this as a much needed hospital tank, and I still have another tank that could use a hospital tank for, so that's what I'm gonna be using it for. And so the first thing you're probably wondering is what killed my fish. That's what I was wondering too. And as you can see, it looks quite nice, my tank. I like the design at least. But what I'm pretty sure killed it is the fact that I used something other than 100% silicone to glue it in place. Now, there is also the chance that it was the cement, but I believe that was unlikely. Because, one, is when I checked the pH of when I saw my fish, when they were dead, the pH was in the 8 range, I believe. And that is perfectly fine for shell dwellers as they like higher pH. And why? It's more likely the glue because it was not 100% silicone. So, even though there was a lot of problems with this which resulted in my fish death, there is still things that I've learned from doing this. And one is that you want to move your fish to another tank when you're doing big mods like this, throwing in a nice background. I did this because don't want to try and put this in while fish are in the tank. It is really hard to do this, and I really won't recommend it. And number two is, well, for shell dwellers, because that is what I had, is that when you're moving them, they're gonna hide in their shells when you're gonna try and move the fish. So when you take the shells out and move into another tank, make sure to move the shells around. It's because air gets trapped in the shells, and if you don't move it around under the water, the fish might get trapped in the air bubble and not come out and die. And the problem with this is because they're shell dwellers, you expect them to come out later, and it might not come out, and it could be dead. So it's just really important to pay attention to is to make sure all the air comes out of the shells when you're transferring the shells from one tank to another tank. I've lost a shell dweller this way, and it really sucks because you're wondering where the shell dweller is. And then how I found out what happens when I picked up the shell and I moved it, a big air bubble came out, and it smelled awful. And this smell was obviously because the fish was rotting in the shell, which I couldn't find, which is really sad to know a fish died like that. And three is always use 100% silicone. Just go to hardware. Silicone is not expensive. Just stick with the silicone. You just get 100% pure silicone with no additives. And also, I'd recommend going with hydraulic cement. So, you guys might not see it from here, but I'll just show you. But if you look really closely, see if I can get it focused. See, it cracked off and lots of parts broke off because the cement wasn't really that well designed for being in water. So what I really recommend is getting 100% hydraulic cement so it doesn't crack like this. Obviously, I used a really thin layer because I didn't want to take up much space in this 10-gallon tank. And 10-gallon doesn't have that much space, and that's why I try to keep the background as thin as possible while making it cool. But I never really got to finish what the full project because of the death of my fish. And one more thing is that you really, whenever you do a big modification like this and putting your fish back into tank, the most important thing is to watch your fish. If there's something wrong, you would probably notice that your fish would be acting differently. I recommend after doing some big modifications to your tank like this, just make sure that you pay attention to how your fish are doing. And these are what I've learned from this 10-gallon tank.